Jiu-jitsu. Jiu-jitsu is no joke. It takes years to master.
Martial arts are a vehicle for developing your human potential.
Training in BJJ offers a powerful lens through which to examine some primary human concerns: truth versus delusion, self-knowledge, ethics, and overcoming fear.
There's more philosophy in our mats than actually philosophy in any Ivy League school.
Welcome to Jiulosophy.
What up, guys? Jiulosophy in the house.
We're back again. Another very exciting episode. Jiulosophy 3 here. And we are joined with a very special guest, Patrick Jalloh.
World number 1, 2018 on Blue Belt.
Yep. Unbelievable. We're actually here live at London Fight Factory. We have the amazing privilege to talk with Patrick. Hopefully, we're going to talk about his experience being world's number 1 and a little background on how he got into jiu-jitsu. And we're going to keep it real with you. We're going to keep going down the same path that we've been going with the next couple episodes. Ique, why don't you remind our listeners what we're doing?
So, 6 episodes where we break down every belt by relating to how it is in life, but also by relating to, but in each belt. So let's say we have a white belt for the white belt, who's going to explain what it means to be a white belt, is a blue belt, who's going to explain what it means to be a blue belt, is a purple belt, and so on. So today we have a blue belt category with a purple belt, a recent purple belt, Patrick Jalloh.
Hey guys, good afternoon. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for joining us. So why don't we get started, and you can tell the people a little bit, how did you get into jiu-jitsu? Where did your journey start? What brought you here today? How did this happen?
Oh wow, it's a long story that spans over 8-10 years now. So, but I think so. So my jiu-jitsu life, started from MMA. So I did MMA for a few years. And I actually had a fight with the Muay Thai coach at this gym that we're at now, actually. So we had an MMA fight, and sort of he was a stand-up guy, obviously, Muay Thai coach, and I had a rugby background, so basically I was a ground taking down and sort of ground and pound punching. And our fight ended up a draw because I'll take him down, and then he'll get back up, I'll take him down and get back up. And just by coincidence, he left his old gym to come to a gym where he could work on his ground game. I left my old gym to come to a gym where I could learn some submissions. Lo and behold, we both ended up in the same gym. We're now really, really close friends, and sort of, like from there, started doing jiu-jitsu primarily to learn submissions for MMA. And then, as you guys know, jiu-jitsu seeps into your blood.
It sure does.
As time went by, I've started doing a lot more jiu-jitsu than MMA. I mean, I've stopped MMA, but I definitely think jiu-jitsu is going to be the thing I do till the day I die, really.
That's crazy. So before we even go to the next question, something that just came up in my mind is, how did you actually get into fighting at all?
Yeah, have you always been comfortable in uncomfortable situations? I mean, it sounds like you played rugby, right? You know, it's like you must have had some bit of aggression or no?
No, come on, you guys know me. I'm the most non-aggressive guy ever. I mean, no, you know what?
Only when we're not rolling.
Only when we're not rolling. Yeah. Where rolling, I'm going for blood. No, but so basically, I was doing rugby for years. I mean, since I was in school, and sort of my life was basically playing rugby, drinking, and going to the gym. Playing rugby and going to the gym. You know, like anyone who ever played rugby knows that's what you do as a rugby guy. And so during the off season, I go to the gym and do some weights. And I was at the gym one time just doing weights, and then there's some guys doing some stuff on the mat. Didn't have a clue what it was, just some guys doing some stuff on the mat, so I'm just watching them. And when the guy calls me over and goes, "Oh, and you're a pretty big guy, do you want to have a go?" I'm like, not really, but then, because I basically went in and sort of I trained with these guys, so we're punching, kicking, doing stuff I didn't know what it was. And so after the session, it's like, oh, I've got a gym down the road, when I come train along. I was like, all right, fine. So I turn up there, and after 3 weeks, I'm like, I should find out what this thing's about. And I went online and looked at the guy and saw, wow, I was like, this guy's like one of the best UK fighters, and I've just been, taking him down, and sort of he's been using me as a sort of like a training partner. And I obviously noticed at the time, but he just needed a guy who he could defend, take down against. and sort of like slowly from there, I got more into MMA. I started enjoying martial arts. I'm like, yeah, I love this, and sort of. So it wasn't about aggression. It wasn't about the ego. Just basically, accidentally fell into it really, and 10 years later, here I am.
I think that is a really common misconception about people who do fight sports in general, is that they're really aggressive people. But in reality, when you meet them, they're generally like the chillest people.
You know what? I don't believe. I think I sort of think like people do martial arts are the calmest people. You don't really get like remember my old coach. Like people always say, as a man, you should have a firm handshake. She wasn't a firm handshake. I know, like my old coach, he was actually doing an interview himself, and sort of the interview asked him. So like everyone says, to be a man, to have a firm handshake. How comes you got a weak handshake? He's like, because my hands are usually broken, and I've got to.
Yeah, exactly.
I've got no ego, and so like you guys know, jiu-jitsu, your fingers are always messed up. There's no egos there. I mean, you get punched enough, or you get submission enough to beat the ego out of you.
Exactly. I mean, so let's dive a little bit deeper and let the people at home know how crazy it is when we introduce you as the world's #1 blue belt for the 2018 season. Can you tell us a little bit about what your 2018 looked like? I know you mentioned you went on sabbatical for your job. What did that entail?
Man, 2018 was one of the best years of my life so far. I mean, so I took some time off work. I was enjoying martial arts, but I've kind of worked. Since I was 16, I've never had a time when I've not sort of actually worked. Because life is life. So after 10 years or so of just working full time, I thought, what I'm going to do? I'm going to take some time off work and sort of just focus on martial arts. Obviously, jiu-jitsu was the one I was going to focus on. So basically 2018 was just me traveling around. So I went to New York, went to Paris, went to like places like Copenhagen, Madrid, stuff like that. Just claiming medals and apart from 2 places, I got golds, and I kind of pride myself in getting gold in division and absolutes. I didn't get gold in New York because some big American guy laid on top of me.
Those Americans.
Big American guy laid on top of me for a few minutes, but so I didn't get there. And then last year I finished off with sort of what is my biggest achievement, although I didn't achieve it all, which was the worlds. So the world no-gis, got second in the world no-gis. So I mean, for me, going from a guy who didn't know what jiu-jitsu was a few years ago to being second in the world in no-gis, it's amazing, and I enjoyed it.
It's crazy. I mean, for those who are listening at home, I mean, to me at least, it sounds like the dream. I'm going to take some time off work. I'm going to travel the world and do the thing that I love the most. I think anyone can relate to that. And from what it sounds like, you were pretty successful at it as well. I'd like to do the same. I'm not sure it would turn out the same, though.
Do it, man, to get that world #1 ranking. I mean, the feeling you get when you get that #1 ranking, and you go down to your website, and so you look at the rankings, it says you're #1.
Wow.
And that feeling is priceless, man.
That's amazing. And especially to not, I mean, it sounds like what you're saying, there was a time in your life where you didn't even know what jiu-jitsu was, and to go from that to being #1 in the world, that's pretty crazy.
Yes, I mean it's a lot of work. I mean, as obviously like you want to do it. I mean, so there's good and bads. I mean, like taking time off work, just traveling around. I mean, the good thing about jiu-jitsu is you go to gyms and you meet some amazing people. And lucky enough because of jiu-jitsu, I know some gyms already. So I turn up in there. There'll be gyms I turn up to. Like I don't know anyone and feel absolutely welcomed. Then you get the flip side, where it's like the boring sides where you're in the airports, and going to random locations in the IBJF. Decide to put on like events in the middle of Nowheresville, and so you rocking up by yourself. So there's good and bads. But as an experience, it's priceless, man.
Yeah,
it's priceless, absolutely.
That's so cool. Speaking of, you were saying before this question about how jiu-jitsu will beat the ego out of you. Ique, why don't you? I know you were talking to Patrick a little bit earlier about your experience when you guys rolled. You want to dive into that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. So I was a beginner. I just moved up from intermediate, and like at this point, my ego is a little bit boosted. So I'm like, yeah, I'm intermediate now. And I go to one of the lunch classes where it's only blue belts and upper belts. And I catch Patrick. So he just like in Portuguese, there is this expression, passou o carro, which means like he just like walked down, like he drove down that road like it was nothing, right?
Come on, man.
And it's like, I was like, oh my God, man, what is happening? What is that? It's like, like when you're playing video games and your controller is not working. That was exactly it. So after the training, I was so sad because like I've been training really hard. So I walk up to him and I say, hey, Patrick, this is like in the dressing room. Patrick, what could I do to improve? Like, what have I done? And he just like looks at me, puts his hand on my shoulder. It's like, it's nothing you can do. It's just time, man. Like, you just keep coming. Come next time. But you did well. You did really well. That was really nice, bro. See you next week. It's like, oh, next week. But that was like, I mean, in a sense, it was like really, it was the truth, right?
Yeah, I mean,
But
yeah, jiu-jitsu is all about time, man. Yeah, there isn't like a magic. There's a magic pill that give to you and say, or there's a magic technique to say, yeah, do this Barry Burler, and all of a sudden, all your jiu-jitsu world is sold out. It's about time. It's getting experiences. It's the small things. Put it in time with the mats. I mean, there's a reason why. I going back to what you guys said in your thing last week, where you said, oh, you've been a white belt for 10 years, and then people tell you to move out the way. There's a reason why you move out the way for higher belts, because they put in the time. I mean, when you look at someone with a higher belt than you, just think about how much effort it took you to get to your belt. And just think about they've done that effort plus more to get to a higher belt than you. So like it's about time, and sort of just don't try to rush it, man. It's the more you do it, the more you enjoy it. Then when you start to enjoy it, you start picking up stuff, you start learning stuff, and you start doing little techniques and stuff like that. I mean, there's no magic pill. There's no magic pill that could someone give to you and say, all of a sudden, you do this. Like unless you got that special acai, but that's a different.
Like in the Matrix when it says like I know kung fu, right? Like they put him in a computer.
Yeah. You can't download that jiu-jitsu thing, man.
So going even further on that, it's like, what's it like being the number one blue belt in the world and then coming back and training with like an average blue belt like myself? You know what I mean? Like it must get to your head a little bit in the sense. No.
There's no such thing as average blue belt.
Yeah.
It's like there's no such thing as like unfortunately like in jiu-jitsu there's not like a unified things that says you have to be the skill level. It's all based on your coach. Mm-hmm. And so we're lucky enough that we've got a coach who puts quite hard demand on us. So it's not like an average blue belt. There's no such thing. There's no average. I mean, average against what?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I was number one in the world. But like it just happened that circumstances made me number one in the world. There could be somebody else there who trained just harder than me, but didn't have the privilege to go in those competitions and compete and then get those medals. So there's no such thing as average. And coming back to compete with you, to roll you guys for me is like every time I went away, I was looking forward to going back and roll you guys because actually these are guys that know my game and these are guys that know how to stop me doing what I'm doing and so I have to think of new stuff. So when I go to new gyms, man, I could just play my own game. I could just take it down and pass it guard, and this guys don't know. You guys are not going to take it down, so you guys full guard quick, and sort of. I got to think of new stuff. So it's always harder for me to train in the NFL than to train anywhere else. That's a fact for me, man.
One thing we were talking about earlier that John asked you was about your mentality, right? And it's interesting because you're talking about how it is in training now. I guess can you talk about what is your mentality when you're going to training? Like, how is it? Like, how are you thinking of how do I manage my progress? And when you're also in competition, like, is it like I don't know, like
no. So basically there's 3 modes. Like for me, there's 3 modes. There's no coming up. You're just training, you're running, just enjoying it. You're just doing stuff. You picked up new skills, and sort of like one of my old coaches always used to say to me, every month find one thing you want to work on, write it down, stick it in the fridge. So basically when I come, like I'm just working that one thing, I'm just trying to improve that one thing. If it's my guard pass, I'm just working on guard pass. If it's my work guard, I'm just working that for 2 months before I'm moving to the next thing. So basically that's like mode 1. Mode 2 is get ready for competition mode, and you might have caught me in get ready for competition mode. The time we roll, but get ready for competition mode is like I'm this sub. I'm obviously not looking to hurt you. I'm not looking to but like I'm this sub. I am rehearsing for what I'm gonna do in competition, because like you have to train like you compete, and like when you're 3 weeks to comp, you have to train like you compete. And then there's competition mode, which really is calmer than mode 2, because you can't go to comp. You can't go to comp where you think, I'm going, You quickly get swept in. Yeah, like you have to have your mind fixed. Your body has to be sharp, and your mind has to be sharp as well. It's not just go in and run at him and go, and man, you get choked out really quickly.
I have a specific question about competition, just to share with you a little bit about my experience competing. At white belt, I didn't win a single match at white belt, which to you sounds preposterous, I know. But the thing is, I think it was, what I like to tell myself at least, is it was a matter of me not being able to control my mind and the expectations I had for myself. You know, if you listen to the last podcast, you know, like I was a white belt for 10 years, on and off training, obviously. But so in my mind, I'm saying, I've probably been training longer than most of the guys that I'm competing with. Therefore, I should beat them 100%. And so I had this like very destructive, thoughts in my mind. And it wasn't until blue belt that I actually started winning anything. So like, did you ever have? Right now I'm ranked number 1 in the world. So at some point in the season, I should be winning these matches.
Not at all, man. That's not the way it works. That's anyone can beat anyone. It's for the right time. My thing, every time I fight, is I only think about the next fight. So it's like before camp, I'm not thinking about, I've got 5 fights in the camp, I've got to do this. I'm thinking about the first fight. I'm just literally thinking about the first fight.
Yeah.
How am I going to win first fight only? Fight 2, fight 3, fight 4. If I lose fight 1, I'm not going to get to to have 5 fights. So why would I worry about fight 2, fight 3, fight 4? It's all my focus on fight 1.
Yeah.
And so calming my mind down, calming myself down, because the thing is, the more you compete, the more you get used to competition state. So I refer to it myself as competition state. So you get into mode where you just go through the motions. You know how long you need to warm up. You know what you need, and having that expectation of yourself is good, because you want to win, but saying to yourself, I have to win, or the world's gonna end. It wasn't gonna end. You go there, you get tapped. So let's just say you go in there and you get tapped the first minute, and the first minute you go home, and your parents will love you, your friends are still there. It's like just competition. I think just having that mindset relaxes you, and sort of, if your mind's relaxed, your body relaxed, and then you just go in there and just rehearse the stuff that you do in training. So I was going back to day 2 where, because I've trained it so much now, like I just let my body do what it does. And sort of the mind kind of just about keeping calm, focus.
It's like a meditative state almost.
Yeah, man, massively.
Yeah.
More of a selfish question, I guess, like selfish for me and John. We learned that you're a vegetarian, right?
Yeah.
And we're both vegans, right? And like I think like a big sort of myth or misconception about nutrition and training is that you have to sort of eat meat or something like that. So in a way, I guess the question is, how do you manage with your lifestyle choice? I don't know why you chose to be vegetarian, but
for me, it's the vegetarian thing it's not a lifestyle choice, like I'm sort of save the animals, tie myself to trees. I just like the taste of meat. So it's that. So basically, like I don't eat meat. I like to eat the mushrooms in it, because mushrooms taste like meat. So for me, it's like more like a texture thing. So it's nothing like that. In terms of training, you know what? I kind of eat normal. I mean, like you guys see me in my top off. I've got bad diet, man. And like I'm not, like I'm like you guys here, rocking the 12 packs and stuff like that. I mean, it's just like you do have to focus a little bit more on what you eat. Making sure you don't consume too much carbs and stuff like that. But it's just the same as everybody else, really. I mean, I haven't really thought about it much. It's not something I could answer, because it's not something I've thought about much. I guess
the question was more like sort of with the diet, because that was actually an awesome question, right? Because that's what it's working, right? So I guess the other part of the question is also, how do you manage, for example, life and jiu-jitsu balance? Like, how, for example, with work and training, it's like, because I'm imagining, like, sometimes it's like maybe you're going for a competition, and imagine if you come back with your leg broken, you know, like to.
Man, it's happened, man. Knee shoulders have to take time off work.
Oh.
Like you know what? It's trying to balance work, jiu-jitsu, and family is possibly the hardest. Like the hard bit of it. It's harder than competition because I sort of need to make sure I spend enough time with my wife to make sure that like I'm not going off, like I'm going traveling. So. Oh, I still traveling, like going traveling for jiu-jitsu and stuff like that. Like you have to make sure you have balance. So, so for example, like when I went to the Copenhagen Open, I went with her. Like I went with her. We spent the first few days together. I sent her back home. I said send her back home. She came back home. Came back home, and then I went to come. And like, you're just trying to get that right.
And you missed her the whole time.
Oh my god, I missed her so much. That time. Yeah. Like, well, you know what? I'm a big believer of a theory called third space. Which is basically saying that you've got your work life, your home life, and another life. My other life is jiu-jitsu. Mm-hmm. So basically, if most people only have two lives, you've got your most people have their work life and their home life. So which means if something goes wrong at work, they take that wrong thing at work home, and they're gonna take the like the bad thing that happened at work and they take it out on their family, or vice versa. When some people have something with their family, they take that bad intentions to work and mess it up. Like having a third space means you've got somewhere else. As you guys know, like if you have a bad day, at work, they come to the gym, you choke some people out, and then you go home and everything's fine, and then everything's fine again. So, it's it's the hardest thing to balance, but if something's worth it, you do it, and having to train and having a family for me is important. Yeah, and I wouldn't change it for the world, really.
I think I totally agree with you, and it's like I think sometimes it's hard for people who aren't living this kind of life like we are to understand that jiu-jitsu is just another like strong relationship that we have in our lives. I talked about this in the last episode. I don't know if you guys remember, but it's like jiu-jitsu is just one of those things that you build a strong relationship with it. You're gonna have goods, you're gonna have bads. It is what it is. So, unfortunately, Patrick has to train. It's not easy being a world champion. I think why don't we end it off? Please.
Because I've got beef with both of you.
Oh yeah.
Both of you. Last week's show, like you guys asked the question that if you were going to be a white belt forever, would you stop training?
Yeah.
And so the answers were a bit iffy. Like I didn't hear you guys say straight away. Yeah. Of course I'll simply come training and so remember you started jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Promoted.
100%.
So don't stop for a belt.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just FYI.
Okay. Thank you for that piece of advice. We'll take it strongly. And I think to end us off, speaking of belts, now that you are a newly graduated purple belt, what are your hopes in store for that purple belt?
Man, I want to claim that number one spot again.
Yeah.
So off to Miami next week for the Miami Open.
Yeah.
Man, I am.
See you there.
I want my number one spot back, man.
Yeah.
My number one spot back. Give me a new belt, and then I'm gonna do the same thing again, a brown belt, and just then get a black belt, guys. So so it may take me 10 years, it may take me 20 years, but that's my goal, man. That's my goal.
Nice. Well, we wish you the best, and thank you so much for being on the podcast with us. We found it very interesting, so thank you very much. We hope that the listeners found it interesting. Ique, you want to?
No, thanks so much, Patrick. We appreciate it. We want to let you go train now.
Thank you, guys.
And we'll see you in a few seconds, actually.
Thanks for having me, guys. Thank you.